So there's always a formal night on a cruise, but what do you do for the rest of the nights? A lot of the cruise lines have started to also have themed nights. So you're not just dressing up in your fancier gowns or your nicer clothes. You're dressing up as a 90s skater, or you are dressing up in your Halloween finest to be able to go trick or treating on the ship. Have you been dreaming of travel but not sure where to go or how to begin planning? Well, you found the right podcast.
Welcome to Theme Parks and Passports, the travel podcast for every family ready to explore the world, one destination at a time. I'm Melissa Sanchez, travel addict, wife, and mom of 2 big kids. Along with planning all my family adventures, I've been helping others realize their travel dreams through my company, Spellbound Vacations, since 2010.
And I'm Heidi Mackey, a travel enthusiast with a passion for geek and pulp culture. I'm also a wife and a mom of a spicy tween. Since 2017, I've been creating vacation memories for families through my business, House of Mackey Travel. Join us as we share stories, tips, and talk to those in the know to inspire your family's next great adventure.
Because creating family travel memories can happen in any stage of life. Hey everyone, and welcome to Theme Parks and Passports. I'm Melissa Sanchez with Spellbound Vacations.
And I'm Heidi Mackey with House of Mackey Travel. If you've ever overpacked for a weekend, just wait until you try packing for a cruise. Between formal nights, themed dinners, excursions, and cabin storage, or lack thereof, let's just say it gets kind of cozy. So getting it right can be just a little bit of an art form.
And it's not just swimsuits and sundresses. Cruise culture has its own fun traditions too, like door magnets, fish extenders, and even mysterious cruise ducks that pop up all over the ship.
Well, we know you can dress yourself. Today, we're going to break down the extras that you need to know to pack like a pro, no matter what cruise line you're sailing. We'll talk essentials, hidden must-haves, and what not to bring unless you want security side-eyeing you and your luggage.
So grab your packing cubes, your pirate gear, and maybe a rubber duck or two. This is your ultimate cruise packing guide.
So we have a lot of things we want to cover with you guys, but let's start with specialty clothing.
Well, I think when you're cruising, one of the things people think about for specialty clothing is evening wear, right? I get this question a lot. Every cruise, whether it's a 3-night or longer, is going to have a formal night. Sometimes the longer cruise might have 2 formal nights. So it's definitely something that you're going to need to pack for. And I get this question a lot from, I don't know, maybe my spouse that's traveling with me. And so I end up laying out all of his clothes, which for those of you who know me, you're probably not surprised by this at all. I don't physically put things in a suitcase for him, but he will come home and find everything laid across the bed in outfits like that sometimes coordinate with my outfits. But
That's perfect.
With that aside, there are specific specialty nights when you're cruising, depending on whether you're on a 3-night, 4-night, 7-night, 25-night cruise. I have people sailing from LA to Australia next year. Look, you can go from being very formal, where you're renting the tuxedo on the ship and you're wearing essentially a gown and your kids are dressed to the nines, or you can be in khakis and a button down with a tie or even a polo. It's all your own comfort level, but it's definitely a nice night to see everyone dressed up.
I think it's one of the things that I love about cruising is that culture of special, like giving just a little bit more for dinner. It's kind of an old world idea that's carried through and really only kept in the cruising industry, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you will find some all-inclusive resorts, especially a lot of the adult-only ones where you need to be dressed for dinner. But on the cruise, I know when we pack each night, if I'm going to eat in the main dining room or I'm doing specialty dining, I'm going to dress. And I'm not talking a gown, but I may be in a dress. My husband maybe he's in khaki shorts versus pants, but I'm not wearing what I wore hanging around all day or on my shore excursion.
We do the same thing. I try to put in a no jeans for my family. So we're talking khakis, black pants, maybe black leggings. For my husband, he will pick slightly better pants than just his jeans or his swim bottoms, which he wears as shorts because guys
You
take
need
it
to
with
pack
it.
for him like I do. Like, just lay his clothes out. Be like, this is what you're bringing.
He doesn't let me. No, he won't even put his clothes in the same bag as mine. I just come home, he's like, I'm packed. So
Yeah.
I'm lucky if I get him to show me what he's wearing beforehand. That's a lie. He does talk everything through with me, but there are times where he pulls stuff out of the bag. I'm like, where did that come from?
Yeah, I'm going to use the words kind of casual chic, right?
Yeah.
Where you're still casual, you're still comfortable in the evenings, but you're just stepping it up a notch. Like you said, you're not in jeans, you're not in those shorts that double for a bathing suit. You're stepping it up a little bit.
So there's always a formal night on a cruise, but what do you do for the rest of the nights? A lot of the cruise lines have started to also have themed nights. So you're not just dressing up in your fancier gowns or your nicer clothes. You're dressing up as a 90s skater, or you are dressing up in your Halloween finest to be able to go trick or treating on the ship.
Yeah, and I find Disney Cruise Line is a great one for this, for their theming. And one of the things I really love about Disney Cruise Line and their theming is you know in advance. So
Yes.
if you're sailing just on a straight up Disney cruise, right? It's not a specialty cruise. You're still going to have pirate night. You're going to have that formal night. So those are two things that you know you're going to pack for. But Disney also has their themed cruises along with their theme nights. So you may be packing a little bit extra. You have things like Halloween on the high seas, holidays on the high seas, Pixar Day at Sea, Marvel Day at Sea. So you know that along with Pirate Night, along with your formal night, that if it's Halloween, you know one night you're dressing up and you're trick or treating. If you are on a Marvel Day or a Pixar Day at Sea, you may want to bring that themed clothing or costume that goes along with that specific theme day.
I think DCL does a really good job of that. We were on Royal Caribbean recently, and 99% of the time you'll have a white night, which means that you're dressed in white or primarily white clothing. And the cool thing about these theme nights is that there's usually some type of programming, show, dance party,
Mhm.
something that will be connected to whatever the theme of the night is. For 90s night on the Star of the Seas recently, they had dance parties that highlighted 90s music.
That's fun.
There were trivias that were focused specifically on 90s TV shows and movies, and they were all kind of bunched into that one night so that you felt the theme throughout the entire evening, if not the entire day, which is what Disney likes to do.
Yeah, Disney, it is definitely a full day. Like you see it all day long. I'll just reference the Halloween on the high seas again. Even the characters that are out and about will be in their Halloween costumes. There's a Halloween show. It definitely is a day long event. But what I will add though is sometimes you don't know in advance with some of the cruise lines. You don't know specifically what those nights might be. So, a kind of a tip is most of the time you may have a white night, but you might not know if there's a 90s night. And so I don't always necessarily recommend that my clients go join Facebook groups or whatnot for their sailings. However, it's a good place where you might be able to find out what the theme nights are on a ship because you may find people did that sailing 2 weeks ago and you can ask, does anyone know what the theme nights are? Because a lot of times it might be in the cruise planner, but it might not be. And I have had clients sail. I've sailed myself where I know there's a formal night. I know there might be a white night, but I don't know if there's going to be something else. And I might not find out until I get on board. So a great way is to jump into your cruise group on a Facebook or a social media and see if anybody else has any idea or ask the question. Because sometimes, even as your agent, we might not know what's happening each night until you physically board that ship.
We actually had that experience this year. I've been on 2 different royal ships this year. One of them, the itinerary very specifically said white night, and it's going to be day 2. The second one had no mention of white night, and it was day 3. So,
Yeah. So your guess is as good as ours
yeah.
sometimes. I'm sailing Norwegian in December. And honestly, it really is only about 6, 7 weeks away because it's the very first week. And so while I don't know yet what my nights are, I'm actually traveling. Technically, that's a cruise for business. I know, Heidi, you're not able to join us this time. So we may have some other theme nights that I'm going to have to pack for, which I always love, but also always find it a challenge.
It's just like our recent conference, they gave us different themes for each night. I love it because it's inspiring, and I absolutely hate it because I never seem to have exactly what I want in my head.
Oh, I'll be shopping before this next Norwegian cruise. I can guarantee that. So, all of you who feel like every time you go on vacation, you're at the mall or TJ Maxx or wherever for your new outfits, me too.
Yes.
I'm right
It's
there with you. Right there with you.
well,
But
maybe we should talk about some of the things that you definitely need to have and a few of the things that you will want to have.
sure.
As far as clothing goes, when you're on a cruise ship, you can't go directly from the pool into food, including
Mhm.
the buffet. So you need to make sure that you have a cover up, that you have a shirt and shorts to go over your bathing suit, and that you have some kind of shoes that you can put on. But they actually won't let you in to eat if you're not covered up.
And have shoes on.
Right.
Have those flip-flops with you.
Think resort casual, which means that you can go from one place to another without having to think about what it is that you're wearing.
Right, and a towel does not count. Wrapping
No,
yourself in a towel to go into the buffet doesn't count.
not at all. Let's talk about our rooms a little bit.
Mhm.
We have some ideas and things that we've done to make our stay in the room better because it is not a hotel room. It's not the same space you would get. It's actually somewhat, as we said at the beginning, cozy. So you're not
Mhm.
going to have the space to be able to leave your suitcases out opened with clothes strewn everywhere. Melissa was saying before, this is the kind of vacation you unpack for.
Right. I'm an unpacker anyway, but when you get on the ship, and honestly, unless you're in one of those massive suites, right? You probably don't have a lot of space. And if you're putting, like we used to do when our kids were small, 4 people in a cabin, where are you putting your luggage, right? You're in an interior cabin with 4 people. The luggage is going under the beds.
Yes.
So with that, you're unpacking those suitcases. At least I do. I hang things in the closet. I put things, there's a million little drawers and cubbies throughout the cabins. And then as our clothes get worn, I will put them into the luggage that's underneath the the beds, but I always unpack because your space is small. So Heidi, I know you have some tips for when you cruise to help with that smaller space and be more comfortable in your cabin.
Yeah, one of the things we've done since our very first cruise is as a reminder, it's a ship. The walls are metal, which means magnets. We use those metal hooks that can carry up to about 3 to 5 pounds absolutely everywhere. We put a couple of metal hooks next to the front door so that we can hang our lanyards or whatever we're holding our key cards in so that they're easily accessible when we come in and out. We hang some outside of the bathroom to be able to put our bathing suits on to help them dry a little bit faster. We use them to put my husband's baseball caps. He doesn't go anywhere without a baseball cap. We use those. Why take up space in a closet if we can go vertical?
Well, we don't do metal hooks. One of the things I do is one of those folding, like cosmetic type bags where They're slightly bigger in size. They have a little hook on them also, but they fold down. So you can pack a lot in there. It goes in one of the suitcases. It does take up a little bit of space, but we're not bringing, 3 different toothpastes and 4 different things of shampoo. And then I just hang it on the back of the bathroom door. So it's there. You don't have a lot of space in a cruise shower. My husband's 6'2", and cruise showers are not the most comfortable. However, there is usually a little shelf or some sort of space for you to put some stuff in there.
Well, and one of the reasons why I do the same is I try to put things where they're going to be easily accessible, because I also do a little bit of a straightening up so that when my stateroom attendant comes in, they have a space to clean.
Yeah.
They are able to wipe down your sink, give you new towels, things like that. But
Yeah,
if you have everything everywhere, they won't move your personal items to get to the things they need to do. So if
exactly.
you want them to clean it, you must clear it.
And another thing that, again, I haven't personally done this, but I know some of my clients do it, is they will bring one of those over the door or with a hook, the shoe holders, like the plastic shoe holders, and they'll put all kinds of stuff in there. So you were saying with your hooks, you'll hang your lanyards or whatnot on the hook when you come in. You can have a spot for the lanyards, a spot for the flip flops. And so when you're walking out the door, you're just grabbing those things out of there. Maybe it's a spot where you've brought some snacks with you. I know I have a client who was asking me about bringing Capri Suns. Maybe you just stick a bunch in there. But that's, I know, something that I have had clients say that has been really helpful in organization and making sure they're not losing things in a small space where everything could end up being all over the place.
And now that's also a really good trick for anybody who has really little ones. We're talking about small
Mhm.
clothes, diapers, wipes. By being able
Yes,
to put those things in there, A, you create more space, but B, they're so small they could get lost in what little space you have. By having that on the back of the door, it's easily accessible. If you have slightly older kids and you get the ones with the larger pockets, you could even put in whatever they're supposed to be wearing, say it's their themes, so that they can start to get themselves a little bit dressed. But you at least can have it organized and not remember which pant went with what.
yeah. No, that's definitely a good idea. And one other thing I pack, which I usually get strange looks when I say this, is I pack empty trash bags.
Great idea.
And you could do Ziploc too, but I do trash bags for a specific reason. One is if any of our clothes are wet, if your bathing suit's still damp, your cover up, whatnot, when you are disembarking, I can just throw them into there. It doesn't get the rest of my suitcase wet. But another thing that I use it for is I've unpacked under the bed. I have my suitcase. I've put all my dirty clothes throughout the week. But if you're like me, maybe you've overpacked and you have some outfits left that you haven't worn, I will take that trash bag, lay it over the dirty clothes, and then put the clean clothes on top. So there's a thin layer of separation. It doesn't take up space, but it keeps my clothes I had not worn and the dirty clothes that had been worn separated. So when I get home, I'm not washing a bunch of clothes I don't have to wash. So it's twofold on what I can use that empty trash bag for.
That's a great idea and a great tip. I think of one additional kind of bonus tip as far as packing goes is that if you're doing a cruise along with another part of a holiday or a vacation, like we recently went on a cruise and then spent 3 days at a theme park, we actually packed separate bags so that on the
Yeah.
cruise, I put the bag for the theme park away. I did not need to take up any
Mhm.
space. It went under the bed and it stayed there for the entire time. It wasn't clogging up the little space that I had while I was on the cruise ship.
Yeah, definitely. And then moving away from clothes and toiletries, there's also a bunch of other little things that you can bring on board with you. I'm going to specifically talk Disney Cruise Line again for a second, and that is your popcorn buckets.
Yes.
Because the popcorn buckets that you use in the theme parks, you can use on Disney Cruise Line and vice versa. And so you can buy them in the theme park, use them on the cruise line, buy them on the cruise line, use them in the theme park. And essentially, what it gives you is the next time you go to get popcorn, it's a discounted price. And so does it take up a little bit of space? Sure. But if you're going to those shows every night and you love to get the popcorn to munch on like we do, it's fantastic because instead of paying whatever that full price is, you're paying like a few bucks for to fill up your popcorn bucket. They have covers on them. So if you don't eat it all during the show, throw your cover on. But that's one of the nice things that you can use with Disney in both locations, which is really fun, especially if you're doing a combination trip.
Yes. We have ours from our very first cruise actually. So, and we continue to take it to the parks and on to
Yeah,
the different ships whenever we get onto one of the DCL ships.
it is. It's really
I
cute.
like functional souvenirs, but that's a whole nother podcast,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Something else to make sure that you bring along, and actually we can go along that same theme, is that you can bring something to put your drinks into. Every cruise is going to have
Hmm.
a self-serve liquid. Whether you have the drink package or not, have some type of machine, whether it be the water, whether it be breakfast juice, or like on a Disney cruise line, the soda package is included. So you want to fill soda, bringing your own mug allows you to have more, make fewer trips, keep it colder, but also gives you the flexibility to come and go as you please.
Yes, and on Disney Cruise Line, because there is no drink package, right, to purchase. So you're not getting those drink package mugs like you might with Royal or NCL that you can use at the, right, exactly, that you can use at the soda drink machines throughout the ship. The nice thing about that is if you bring your own, you do have something bigger than the little paper cups. And if you forget it and you're like, oh, I really wanted, this would be great to have, we purchased this on, you can see our 2020 Disney Cruise Line sailing. I think we were on the Magic for this
Oh, wow.
one, but we were able to purchase it on board. However, I will tell you, it's got quite a price tag of $39.99. So we should have been bringing those water bottles with us and not spending $40 for, I don't even know how many ounces this is. I it's not that big. You can see it next to my head, not that
It's
huge.
beautiful though.
So, but it's a great
Yeah.
souvenir. So you do have the option. If you forget them or you didn't really think about it, you can buy them on board too, which is really nice. And like I mentioned, with Royal Caribbean, with Norwegian, when you purchase that soda package, that alcohol package, whatever, if you've got a drink package included, you're going to get the mugs that are going to be in your room when you get into your stateroom. And those will be your refillable, whether it's water, soda, whatever you might be pouring pina colada into if you really wanted to. You could.
That actually brings me to something else. Make sure you bring some type of water bottle. Every ship is going to have water available for you. Whether you can actually
Hmm.
put it directly into the bottle is based on the ship, but you can always carry your own water bottle. And especially if you're doing warm destinations, you're in the Mediterranean over the summer, you're in the Caribbean at any point in time, you're going to want to make sure that you have access to water. Keeping your own water bottle with you is just so much better than having to do like little shots out of the cups that they've got.
Yeah. Yeah. Or constantly going to the bar and being charged for a bottle of
Right,
water.
exactly. Because if it's in a
So,
bottle, unless you have a package for it, you're going to get charged for it. I would say that's the rule of thumb on every
exactly.
cruise. If it's in a bottle, if it's packaged, you will pay for it unless you have paid extra to have it included.
So, with that said, another thing that you can bring on board is alcohol and non alcoholic beverages. Each cruise line is going to have their own specifications of what you can bring. So, depending on what you're sailing, you want to make sure that you're familiar with the rules and regulations that cruise line is put in place. But majority of them will allow you to bring a case of water, for example. It has to be a carry-on. You can't put it in your checked bag. You literally have to carry that case of water on or have it in a little carry-on size bag that you're pulling. Some of the cruise lines allow you to bring up to 2 bottles of wine per guest over the age of 21. That's the other thing to keep in mind. Side note, if you are going to bring bottles of wine with you, you want to make sure they're screw top because if you bring a bottle of wine that has a cork and you need to request to have it opened or request a corkscrew because they're not going to let you on board with a corkscrew, then you will be charged a corkage fee.
Yes.
So screw top, twist off bottles of wine, and non-alcoholic things too. Like I have a client who, I think I mentioned this earlier, their kids want to bring Capri Suns. I called the cruise line just to make sure, and they were like, yeah, you can bring a case of Capri Suns on with you. So those are things, however, they are meant to be consumed in your stateroom. Now, if you have your handy dandy refillable cup, who's checking if you poured your bottle of wine into it? I'm not.
Well, and I think that's a good note too, is the corkage fee also goes, you may have a twist top, but if you bring the bottle of wine to dinner, say you have a special bottle of
They're going to
something
charge you.
and you have them serve it for you, you're going to get charged the corkage fee.
Yes, you
But
are.
if you pour it
Yep.
into, you can go up to the bar and ask for a couple of wine glasses and you pour yourself 2 wine glasses, you can bring that to dinner for sure.
So just something to keep in mind. But again, make sure you know the rules and regulations of your specific cruise line that you are sailing so you don't end up losing the products that you want to bring on board with you.
Right. I think, do you want to kind of rapid fire a few other small things that might be helpful to us?
I mean, sure. You can bring things like power extenders, but you can't bring surge protectors on board. I know I get a lot of questions sometimes. Can I bring my hair dryer? Can I bring my flat iron, my curling iron? You can bring all of those things on board with you. What you cannot bring is an iron or a steamer, even a travel size. I did it my very first cruise. My travel iron was taken. They don't get rid of it on the day you disembark. They're going to have like an area where you can go pick up things that were confiscated. Candles, you cannot bring actual candles with you on board. They will confiscate those. So again, make sure you're reviewing the rules, the regulations, the terms and conditions of the specific cruise line that you are sailing to make sure that what you are packing is allowed on board.
Right. For very little ones, you can't bring a water kettle. You can't bring anything that would heat something. So if you have a
Right.
bottle warmer, you're not going to be able to take something like that. So you need to make sure you keep it home, save the space in your luggage.
Yeah, and you can figure out other ways. Like I will send out clothes to be ironed on the first night. And a lot of times they don't return till the next day, so you have to plan ahead. I have also brought with me like wrinkle spray. Does it work the best? Not necessarily, but what I have found is if I hang up a piece of clothing that needs to be ironed, I spray it with the wrinkle spray and then I blow dry it.
Oh, great idea.
A lot of times that works.
Yeah, great idea. And some of these things will be in your
So,
stateroom depending on which cruise line and how modern it is. You know, they will have
right.
the Star of the Seas, I believe, had irons in there if I really needed it.
Your stateroom attendant will be able to assist with all of that. But let's jump into away from the serious stuff. Let's jump into some of the fun items that you can bring with you, some of the extras that make your sailing a little bit more fun.
Part of cruise culture is the ducks, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
did a little digging before this because I feel like ducks have just always been around, but actually they started in 2018. There was a little girl
Okay.
who brought them onto a ship and put them around for people to find with just a message that said, I hope you have an amazing cruise. And it sparked this whole culture of leaving these ducks for people to find. It turns into a really fun family scavenger hunt to go around the ship. And it's not coordinated by the cruise, though there are cruising members that now start to participate. You'll find
Mm-hmm.
some of your captains, cruise director, every once in a while, if you run into them on the ship, you'll see them hiding a duck someplace. And with these ducks, you find them, you can keep them, you can rehide them. And there are still some Facebook and online forums where you can take a picture of them, post it, and then you can decide what you want to do with it again. So you can kind of see where ducks have been.
And the they're different
Yeah,
sizes. So I was holding up my little duck. This is a tiny little duck that we found on our last Royal Caribbean cruise. My daughter just randomly saw it sitting on a
love
shelf.
it.
But again, make sure you know the rules of doing this because some of the cruise lines have set some restrictions in place because of where these ducks were being hidden. You cannot hide ducks in the Central Park area on the Royal Caribbean ships that have that area because they were finding the foliage, the plants were getting stepped on or whatnot. So you need to make sure that you're conscious of the environment that you're hiding these ducks in and keeping it fun and not destructive.
Yeah, keep the spirit of the game alive, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And another thing that, and this is specific to Disney Cruise Line at this point, are fish extenders. Heidi, you were telling me earlier, and I actually didn't realize this part of it is why they're called fish extenders.
Right. So what they are is there are metal fish or metal seahorses on the Disney Cruise Line, and they're next to each one of the staterooms, and they show you whether or not you're on port or on starboard side to help you orient on the ship. So that's been there since they put the first Disney Cruise Line out. They come out a little bit, and you'll see your stateroom attendants sometimes would hang things on there way back when, before we got all fancy with technology. That's where your keys would be. They would put
Right.
pieces of paper in there for you. So what they've done is they're called fish extenders because they're literally bags that hang on those fish and extend them. And it's a culture of gift sharing. It's pre-coordinated. You go into a Facebook group, you join a fish extender group so you know how many people you're dealing with, what their staterooms are, and you basically agree amongst 10 to 15 of you that you're going to share gifts with each other. And we did this on our very first Disney cruise. It was so much fun. We were able to find out how many adults and how many kids were in each one. Some people shared the names. You're doing this within a closed group, so just do it as much as you're comfortable with. We took my daughter, who was only 5 at the time. She went around and she was able to gift almost like stockings at Christmas. We went to the different rooms, we put in our little goodies, we had different goodies for the adults than the children. When we would come back to our room over the course of the 5 days we were there, she got different gifts. Every time we came back in, she was able to get something small that was either made just for her. Some things had her name on it. And most of it has a like enjoy your cruise, has the date and the family that shared
Yeah.
it with you.
Yeah, I had clients do it this summer and they loved it. Their kids loved it. The kids helped put together like the little gifts. Like you said, you're going to be in a group and you're going to coordinate a little bit because you are doing this just about every day of your
Yeah.
sailing. So it's definitely something you have to commit to. Personally, we've never done it. I could not give that commitment. But I know a lot of families that I booked and like you said you've done it and your daughter loved it. But it's also something that if you know this is happening on your ship, which it happens on every Disney Cruise Line ship, maybe you just bring, I don't know, 50 little pins or something. And when you're walking down a hall, if you see somebody has a fish extender, you just stick a little gift in there. You can pixie dust them as opposed to having it this full coordinated. So you can still be involved and maybe you even hang one outside your room and hope you get pixie dusted. But if you really want your kids to be involved and to get those little gifts, then you definitely have to be part of the group and do a little bit of coordination.
And to explain a little bit more about what pixie dusting is, it's the same concept as you probably pulled from what Melissa said, but it's doing something without the coordination of somebody else. So say it's a mug from the gift shop with a little tag on it that says you've been pixie dust. That's important because otherwise people think you just left stuff.
Yeah.
Leave it. We've
So true.
Yeah, we've gone down the stairs, and on the lift between the 2 stairs, there'll be something in the corner that just says you've been pixie dust. And it will be a small toy. It will be a charm or a pin or something along that lines that's literally just gifted to you. And it did start out by actually being little vials of pixie dust people would hide around the Disney cruise lines.
Yeah, which is so fun. And then another thing is a lot of the cruise lines, their doors are magnetic. You were talking about the magnetic walls
Mhm.
earlier. A lot of times the doors are magnetic. And I used to create magnets for our family when we would sail. Or you're going to see when you're walking through the ship, it's a birthday, it's an anniversary, and they've decorated the doors of their stateroom. So, stateroom door decoration is a big thing too. The magnets, although I have found not every cruise line's doors are magnetic on the outside, but a roll of tape works too.
I heard a comedian once, and I won't go into her full spiel because we're a family show, but one of the things that she pointed out, there was a family that was a couple of doors down from her, and they were decorating their door. They actually hung balloons on their door, which I think there's restrictions about that now, but
Yeah, definitely make sure you know the
yeah,
restrictions again.
exactly. When she asked them, why do you do that? They said, because all these doors look alike, and this way we can find our door.
Yeah,
And I'm sure
yeah,
that that's really where it started, but it's being able to put a little bit of you into all of it, and I think that it's very fun, and it
mhm.
was always a good way, and honestly, it was a way for me to figure out if I was going in the right direction. We may not decorate our door every time, but I would see the same decorations, and if I saw that
Right.
decoration, I knew I was close to home.
You were close to your
Yeah,
stateroom. Yeah,
exactly.
that's definitely something. And then one final thing that you can do, again, I know we've talked a lot about Disney Cruise Line, but they tend to go above and beyond with a lot of these things. But if your kids are into pin trading in the theme parks, you can pin trade on board, which is really fun. It's not something a ton of people do. You're not going to see people walking around with the lanyards on like you do in the theme parks, but it is there. And we didn't mention lanyards.
Right.
You mentioned hanging up your lanyard, but we didn't mention bringing a lanyard. I always recommend bringing a lanyard. While, yes, some of the cruise lines now may have bands you can wear that'll open your door, more often than not, you've got a key card. And at the end of the night, the last thing you want to be doing is rummaging through your bag to find your key card with a crying kid. Or let's be honest, after you've had a couple of glasses of Prosecco, and you can't find it. If it's hanging around your neck, you know exactly where it is.
Right, you're not gonna be carrying your wallet around for the entire thing, and especially if
Right.
you are on a cruise where it's warm weather and you're going to be wearing bathing suits, there aren't a lot of pockets. So it's always good to
No.
have it someplace because you're gonna need it to buy drinks at the bar. You're gonna need it
Right.
to
If you have a drink package,
right,
you
not
have
just
to
get
show
into
it.
your room, but
Mhm.
to for a lot of them, you can use your key card to buy merchandise at gift shops.
Yes. So I just wanted to throw that out
Yeah.
there. But I think that's pretty much a lot of our tips for cruising.
Yeah, Melissa, you've given me a couple that I'm gonna add to my list for next time to try out too. The garbage bag thing for sure.
That's my favorite.
So, would you like to step into the would you rather?
Sure.
Okay.
So this week we are talking, would you rather dress up for formal night or dress up for a theme night? And how would you dress?
I enjoy formal night, but I must admit that I think that I really would prefer dressing up for a theme night. I really enjoy the nights, especially on the Disney cruise lines that have a Star Wars theme. A pirate night is
Mhm.
so much fun. So much
Yeah.
fun, and it's great to see everybody surrounded in similar costume or to see who just put on the bandanas that they give you because they do give you bandanas, they help you with the
Yes.
theme, or the people who have full blown gone Pirates of the Caribbean mode. Like it's amazing to
Mhm.
see how far people will go with the costumes. So I'd say for me personally, I probably half dress up for both, but my real joy is seeing everybody else dressed up, and I like that the best with the theme nights. You?
Yeah, I think it's a tough call, but I do like dressing up for formal night. Like, and I'm not talking the gown and the tuxedo, but my husband will be in a shirt and a tie, pants. The kids, like when my son travels with us, I have him in a shirt and a tie. My daughter and I will be in a dress. And one of the reasons I like that is because the photographers are all out and around, and you can get some really nice family shots or shots of you and your spouse or you and your kid or you and your girlfriends, whoever you happen to be traveling with. I think that's a great night, everyone dressed up,
Yeah.
and you can get some great photos. But nights are so fun. And one of my favorite Disney Cruise Line sailings are the Halloween sailings.
Yeah.
And I love to theme my outfits almost every day. Like I will always bring some sort of Halloween ears,
Yeah.
or I have pirate ears. So
Nice.
on pirate night, I'll wear my ears. Admittedly, I don't necessarily go full blown pirate, but I have I'll put the big gold earrings and I've got the mini pirate ears. So I do find the nights a bit more enjoyable, even though I love the formal nights. If there's more than one formal night on my sailing, I probably will only dress up for one of them.
That makes perfect sense. I love it. Thank you very much for joining us for this podcast. We hope that you have learned something or added something to your list for your next cruise.
And make sure to check out the show notes where we have shared our list of favorite items we like to pack when we cruise. And until next time, happy travels.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit subscribe on Spotify or your favorite podcast player. And while you're there, feel free to leave us a rating and review.
Check out the show notes for links to Spellbound Vacations LLC and House of Mackey Travel. Until next time, keep living your best travel life.